Health insurance is super expensive. It's confusing, and the average American can't afford it. And if you're frustrated, like I am, and a lot of people I talk to and work with, and you want to know what the government should do, what we should all be doing to fix the problem, I'm going to share it with you today. As I look through the comments on videos that I have on TikTok and YouTube, one of the resounding things that I see just pop up on a couple of the videos that have gone viral is insurance is a scam, it's too expensive, I pay cash for everything, I get a better price. I have insurance, but I use cash because I get a better price. And I often get asked, like, why is that? And part of the work that we do with our employers is how to fix that. And there are ways you can do that as an employer. But when you look at just systematically what's going on in the industry, there are some very big problems. There are a lot of misaligned incentives and conflicts of interest that are causing insurance to be ineffective and allowing insurance companies to profit and creating a lot of distortion in the market that can easily be fixed with common sense things that we experience as a consumer every single day. You don't need an economics or a finance degree to make sense of this. So I'm going to share this. If somebody in the government's watching this and you want to give advice or pass this on, these are super common sense things. In fact, one of them has already been done. It was about a year ago. I was on a news show, and somebody asked me what's some regulatory or governmental actions that the government can take to start solving the problems that we see in insurance. And one of the things I mentioned was PBM reform. Well, that's already happened. And a lot of people are excited about that. And yeah, we should be. That's the first step. That's one of probably 3 or 4 things that needs to happen, the actions that the government needs to take. I'm going to share the others with you today. But I don't think PBM reform is going to have the impact totally that we think it is. Drug makers and insurers are part of the biggest lobby in the United States. Healthcare and insurance is more than 2.5 times the lobbying dollars spent by defense and oil and gas. The defense industrial complex and big oil. Add what both of those industries together spend in Washington lobbying over the last decade, health insurance and healthcare is 2.5 times larger than those two combined. So think about what that means. That kind of money in that sort of time, it's over $6 billion over 10 years. If somebody wanted change in that kind of money and that kind of time, don't you think we'd have it? No, we don't. Really what's happened, and this is just my personal opinion, but the lawmakers are being paid by these lobbyists. And I think ultimately what happened with the PBM reform is that the lawmakers eventually are passing on to lobbyists, hey guys, we're not going to be able to hold back the American public too much longer. You need to start changing your businesses. And you're starting to see that now, particularly on the PBM side. They knew this was coming. This was no surprise. They're no idiots. And the private industry, and I don't mean this in any offense, but this is the way the world works. Private industry moves faster than the government. They're smarter. They've got more, I don't want to say more resources, but I mean, honestly, when it comes to business intelligence and the way they invest their capital can move much faster than the government. And you see it consistently. This is what happened when the ACA was passed. The change in the insurance companies' business models changed. Their stock prices flourished because of it. We all suffered because of it. That is happening now with this PBM reform. I'll just give you one example. They're now shifting because now they can't make spread pricing. Pay a pharmacy a lower price than is billed through the insurance. That's called spread pricing, and they can't keep rebates. All good ideas, but where are they going to make the money now? It's going to be further up the supply chain, which is going to be the joint ventures that they have with drug makers. They're just going to make money in the manufacturing of drugs through these joint ventures, and the PBM is going to dispense a drug, or they're going to pay for a drug more than they should. So a perfect example, I don't want to get too far in the weeds in this episode, but just to give you an example of what's going on, take the biosimilar market. And the easiest way for the average American to understand this is not totally technically true, but it's basically a generic for a high-cost specialty medication. So Humira has a number of biosimilars available for. So you take Humira, there's a number of indications it's for, but think about rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, plaque psoriasis are probably the 3 of the biggest indications that medication's used for. One biosimilar can cost about $700 to $750. But the one that one of the big insurance companies has a joint venture, that same dosage is about $2,400. Think about the cost difference there. So yeah, they're not going to get a rebate. They can't make spread pricing, but where are they going to make the money? In the joint venture. So it's going to make shareholders happy. At the end of the day, employers are going to pay more Employees are going to pay more for that essentially the same medication. And one of the good things about PBM reform, though, is that that's going to become very transparent. You're going to be able to see that. So when you're analyzing claims, when you're looking at the cost of those medications, you're going to be able to point that out very easily to a CFO, CEO, and an HR leader. Hey, you're paying 4 times, 3 times, 8 times, whatever that may be for those medications, one PBM to the other. Cool. So PBM reform is going to have some good implications, but the market's shifting already. And these private companies, they're huge, they're massive, they're smart, they have resources. They're already shifting their business models to account for it. So from what I see as an insider, trying to help companies fix health insurance problems, the rising cost of health insurance, where they're leaking money, where they're wasting money, where insurance companies are wasting money on their behalf and overcharging them in subsequent years, that's one problem. The other side is healthcare. We often think of them as the same thing. Health insurance is what we use oftentimes to pay for healthcare. Walking into a hospital to deliver a baby, walking into a pharmacy, going to the doctor. That's healthcare. We can use cash, credit cards, health insurance, combination of all of the above. We're using health insurance primarily to pay for the big things. I want to break this down into 2 different buckets. The first, when we're talking about reform on the health insurance side, and this is not new. The government has taken steps, just like I'm about to explain, for the interest of the American people and to control pricing or to affect pricing. And the market is not efficient, not the health insurance market. There's 4 big players, you can name them, 4 big players that dominate the majority of the marketplace with PPO contracts. PPOs are kind of like a arbitrage, the veil of secrecy that insurance companies have tried to shroud over employers to hide pricing. It's proprietary and we don't want to share it. And the government's had to pass legislation to force insurers to share their pricing and hospitals. But still not easy, is it? No, it's not. It's not easy at all. So it's a Ponzi scheme, really, is what it is. It's bullshit, honestly. And I work in the industry. I have to work with these people. Maybe they don't want to work with me after this episode, but that's fine. I don't need them. We can, we have other ways to design these insurance plans. It just is what it is. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. This is not going to be popular with a lot of people in my industry, a lot of people that I work with. But somebody's got to say it. Somebody has to call this out, right? Somebody has to do this. Or how are you going to look at yourself in the mirror? You know you're profiting off of the backs of Americans, where the median income in the United States is $63,000. The average family, household of 4, is making $114,000 and having to pay $29,000 for health insurance. That is insanity. And you don't tell people how you make money. You don't want to show it. And you fight the government to prevent you from having to disclose it. Like, those are the issues that we're dealing with. Come on, people. Like, this is what we're dealing with. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. I think we have a government in place today with Trump, and I think it's healthcare is a bipartisan issue. Health insurance is a bipartisan issue. We all want the same thing. We all want to have access to really good care, and it needs to be affordable. And on one side, you're going to say it's a human right. On the other side, you're going to say it's economics, and we need to be able to do business. There's a way to marry both of those things together if we all just come together and use some common sense. So I'm going to share it with you right now. Let's go. So I think the first step is do what we did with the Bell Communication System in the 80s. We need to break up insurance companies. They are essentially monopolies. It's an oligopoly. You have 4 major commercial insurers that dominate the market, and there's not efficiency. There's not transparency. There's not competition. So the first step is, if you look at any of the big insurance companies, they have these things in common. They're vertically integrated. The government tried with the Affordable Care Act to limit the profitability of insurance companies, which makes total sense. We don't want insurance companies taking our premium, denying all of our claims, and keeping all of our premium as profit. We can debate this economically, right, if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Morally, it was a good thing. But it created this unintended consequence that these insurance companies now decided we can make money through transfer pricing. And for people that don't understand what that is, if I own subsidiaries, I can capture profitability in my pharmacy benefit manager. I can capture profitability in my physician groups. I can capture profitability in all these things that I own, which bill the insurance company and can show the insurance companies losing money, which gives them justification to increase premiums at renewal. It's a big circular reference. That's what we're dealing with right now. Let me give you an analogy of how this works. Home builder. You hire somebody to build a home. and you tell them, hey, home builder, I just need you to do a cost plus contract for me. Whatever the house costs plus 15%, that's what you're going to get you're going to make. And it makes total sense, right? You don't want them creating some scenario where they jack the price of a house up and can just profit on an uncontrolled manner. But what if the home builder comes to you and says, well, the house is, we've already gotten all the quotes, the house is going to be $1 million, but they don't tell you, I own the roofing company, the concrete company, the plumbing company, the electrician, and oh, by the way, the bids I got from the companies that I own, which I'm going to force you to use contractually, because I put it in the contract, you have to use all my stuff. Those bids weren't competitive. I could have gotten this stuff for like 20, 30, 50% cheaper, but contractually you're obligated to work with my companies. That's exactly how insurance works. When you go work with an insurance company, employers, when you're buying a policy, a fully insured policy specifically, you don't get to pick any of the stuff. You don't get to pick the PBM. You don't get to pick the network. You don't get to customize it in any way other than deductibles and out-of-pockets, which doesn't change the cost of healthcare claims. It's just cost shifting between you and your employees. So let's break them up. And what I mean by that is if you're an insurance company, you shouldn't own a pharmacy. And if you're an insurance company, you shouldn't own physicians. And if you're an insurance company, you shouldn't own a pharmacy benefit manager. Why? Because the more you bill your own insurance company, the more profit you're able to take and accept from that profit cap and put it down in your subsidiaries, and you see it in their financial statements, and it doesn't provide value to members. I understand you have a fiduciary obligation to maximize value to shareholders, but you're not sharing any of that with the consumer. Think about this. Costco is a really good example. Amazon is a really good example of how companies have created vertical integration, and they're sharing the value created not only with customers, creating loyalty, the value of a customer long term, but they're also creating value for shareholders. Nobody can argue. Go look at Amazon's stock price. Go look at Costco's. The business model of Costco is amazing. You can't tell me that shareholders aren't happy with the returns that they've got in those companies. But think about what Costco does, right? Think about the integration, the vertical integration of the largest seller of nuts under the Kirkland Signature brand. Like, that's Costco's brand. They've vertically integrated, create that private label amongst a lot of different things inside of their stores. And they're sharing that value with customers, which creates repeat, long-term, sustainable revenue for that company, which is also valuable to the shareholders. If you look at the way insurance works today, all that value is being captured and given to the shareholders. And I'll give you a perfect example of how, in my opinion, why that isn't how I would illustrate it. Are earnings going up? Yes. Are premiums going up? Yes. Is anybody paying less? No. Specifically, if you look at that trend over time, that's the tail of the tape. Like, that's the reality. Compare that to Amazon or Costco. Yeah, there's inflation, but not like what we see in health insurance or in healthcare. It's the opposite. And oftentimes you can pay less on Amazon than you did a year ago. Why? Because there's lots of competition. There's vertical integration. You can get it shipped within 2 days or sometimes same day. Why? Because the value of the vertical integration that was created by Amazon by creating their own fleet, cutting out UPS and FedEx, all the profitability that was captured in those companies has been stripped out. We're compressing waste and overspending, and now we're passing that on to the end consumer, which is you and me. That's cool. Doesn't work in health insurance. So to sum this one up, break up the insurance companies, be an insurance company. Your PBM should be a standalone PBM. If that's the business they want to be in, pharmacy benefit management, go be a standalone pharmacy benefit manager. Your physician groups and facilities, you shouldn't own those. That's a misaligned incentive and a conflict of interest. That needs to go be its own facility and its own physician group. Everybody gets to compete. Insurance companies, when you're structuring your insurance, this is what we do on self-funded health plans. What most of our employers are doing is they'll use an insurance company's network, but they won't use that same PBM. And they may choose a different administrator. So they're custom building this. And that's how insurance should work. Now, there's going to be a bigger implication to this on this next piece that I'm going to share with you. And that's on the healthcare side. Again, what we're buying with our insurance dollars. The first thing is going to be for hospitals. Today, right down the street from me, there's a couple of hospitals. And they may have 100 people come in with the same condition. Let's just call it a hip replacement. They're going to do 100 hip replacements in the OR today. It's probably likely that all 100 people are going to pay a different price. They're going to be charged a different price. In what world does that make any sense? I'm trying to think, If I was to walk right now into a McDonald's, and I'm going to use McDonald's and Burger King as an example because that's like blowing up all over social media. If you haven't seen the CEOs eating the hamburgers of their own, eating their own hamburgers, it's actually comical. It's actually pretty cool. So you should go check that out.
The moment of truth. That is so good.
Not bad, right?
Only one thing missing, a napkin.
It actually is a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about here. If you walked into a McDonald's today and ordered a Big Mac, you're going to pay the same price that I'm going to pay. Or walk into the same McDonald's in the same city, we're both going to pay the same price. And guess what? The 10 people behind us are going to pay the same price too. In fact, McDonald's has to compete against Burger King on a couple of things. Price, quality, experience. Isn't that like what all of us have to compete on? It's what car dealerships compete on. It's what, I mean, think about it. You're looking at everything. Everything that you buy is price, quality, experience. That's what everybody should compete on. It doesn't work that way with hospitals. The easy fix here, and this, I'm going to say the simple fix. Because there's a difference between being simple and easy. This probably isn't easy. This is not easy to do, but it is doable. I mean, for Lord's sake, we landed a man on the moon. Like, we could figure this out. Come on, people. Charge everybody the same price. Whether I have Blue Cross, Cigna, Aetna, United, all of them should be the same price. If I go in and deliver a baby, whether it's a normal birth or a cesarean section, if I go in and have a hip replacement, if I'm in a car crash and I'm in the ICU for a night or 5 nights, every one of the insurance companies should pay the same price, including cash payers. Because what we don't want is the government dictating pricing. Medicare, Medicaid, right? That doesn't work. Hospitals don't like that. They don't have a choice. We shouldn't be dictating pricing. That's not economics 101. That is not going to be efficient for the market either. Hospitals, we're not going to dictate the price. You get to pick the price you charge. It's going to be the same for everybody, whether I'm a cash payer or I pay with insurance. And that's going to cause a couple of things to happen. One, it's going to create radical transparency. There are hospitals, there are facilities that post their pricing on their websites. The Free Market Medical Association, the most popular and famous one is the Surgery Center of Oklahoma. Go to their website, look up any procedure you want, price is posted right there on their website. So you know, what's this going to cost? Exactly, and everybody pays the same price. Imagine if that was the reality for every hospital in America. Now, granted, any hospital executive watching this right now is going to say, well, wait a minute, what if there's a complication? Like, we don't know what everything that could possibly happen. There's a bazillion iterations of a hospital stay. They're not the same. Okay, there's ways to address that, but you can set your pricing based on statistically the mass majority of these procedures. What does it cost to deliver? What do you want to charge for them? And then you can create some sort of rule-based logic for outliers. But people need to know, and insurance companies need to know, what is it going to cost when I go have this procedure? That would solve for all the confusion that we have trying to go through these tick files of figuring out what every hospital charges based on every insurance that's being offered. That's insanity. It's hundreds of terabytes of data that nobody can make sense of. It's like stupid. Let's just cut that out. Post your price on your website. Everybody gets to see it. And now, because you posted your price, you have a brand. There's transparency. We post quality as well. People can understand, what does it cost? What's the quality? What's the experience? Do I want to go into that hospital? Or do I want to go into the other one? Do I want to go back? I don't want to, this is probably not a good example, but Burger King or McDonald's? Or do I want to go to the steakhouse that's going to charge $25? Do I want the $3 hamburger, the $5, or the $25 hamburger? Make it super simple. The way we buy everything today. Amazon. Guess what? People will research the new television or the new iPhone they're going to get, probably 10x what they'll research healthcare or insurance. They got no idea. Like, that's got to be fixed. And meanwhile, we spend the majority of our income on healthcare. Crazy. What else is going to happen here? Well, I already mentioned PPO networks, kind of the bane of the existence of healthcare in America. It's a Ponzi scheme. It doesn't make any sense, and they have fought tooth and nail to hide the pricing and to make it so opaque that nobody can make any sense. There's a whole industry created for people like me to figure out, if I use this network versus that network, What's the difference in the pricing of all of these different procedures? It's called a repricing. It's like, why do we make this more complicated than it has to be? If everybody is posting their pricing and everybody pays the same price regardless of insurance, guess what? We don't need PPO networks anymore. Networks go away because nobody's having to contract for care because the pricing is the same for everybody. Dude, that would make a ton of sense. And that would create a lot more simplicity in healthcare. It would make it a lot more simple for insurance companies. Because here's the next kind of second and third order effect of that. Right now, we only have 4 big insurance companies in the United States. We used to have like 15, 18 back in the day. That will happen again. Trump's talked about creating competition across state lines. Like, that, honestly, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What does make sense to me is like, let's get new entrants into the market. People who exited the market 15, 20 years ago, get them back into the market. Most people don't know this. I know of 33, 34 different companies that are insuring health insurance risk, but they're not into the full health insurance business. They're stop loss carriers and reinsurance. There's dozens more probably that I don't even know about when you add up all the captives and consortiums and all the second tier stop loss carriers. But there's a reality, a real world where we could end up going from 4 insurance companies to 12 to 15. Let's create some real competition in the market on health insurance, because the reason they're not in the market today is a couple of things. They don't have a network. They're going to reinsure, or they're going to supply insurance to the companies that do have the network, which, by the way, the companies that do have the networks are also the ones that own the physician groups and own the pharmacies and own the pharmacy benefit managers, and they're monopolizing and monetizing all of these claims. It's sort of a problem. Let's get rid of all that by breaking it up. We'll allow them to come into the marketplace, and it's going to create a lot more competition. So I know this was somewhat long and complicated, so I'm going to break it down in just a really quick summary. Step 1, break up the insurance companies. Do what we did with Bell Communication Companies, or the Bell Communication System. Break them up into baby bells. Insurance companies to be insurance companies. Take apart all the healthcare ecosystem that they own. You can't own pharmacy benefit managers. Those be a standalone business. You can't own physicians. One of the insurance companies has got 90,000 plus physicians on there that they own that work for them. Kind of an issue. It's been demonstrated. There's lots of articles that break down how they systematically overcharge the insurance company. Get rid of that. That's a conflict of interest that we all end up paying more for. And you can't own pharmacies. Be an insurance company. That makes a lot of sense. Step 1. Step 2, hospitals. Determine the price that you want to get paid for a procedure. Charge everybody the same and post the price on your website. The benefit of that is going to create a lot more transparency and make it easier for Americans to understand the difference between hospital A, hospital B. What's crazy is oftentimes hospital B is more expensive than hospital A, and it's not even as good. Not even as good. But the doctor that you see is owned by hospital B, so he's forcing you to go to hospital B. Like, we gotta get rid of that. That's messed up. Post your prices on your website. Charge everybody the same price. It's going to allow more competition from insurance companies willing to get back into the market because they don't need a network. They don't need to own pharmacy benefit managers. They can contract with the other ones that are out there. Like, there's literally dozens of pharmacy benefit managers out there in the market today, maybe more, and tons of competition, lower prices for everybody, transparency. Everybody's going to see what things cost. Everybody's going to understand how to buy it. You can shop for it just like you do on Amazon or online or wherever it is that you buy things. And we're going to create an experience that people understand. There's no hiding anymore. There's no hiding dollars. We're going to compress all of the middlemen, all of the waste, all of the wringing of dollars out of insurance plans that nobody sees. That goes away. We all pay less and we all get more. That's the insider's approach to fixing healthcare from a government and legislative effort. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.